Okay, so today we will be reading from line number 84. So here in this particular stanza, we'll see that Satan speaks to Beelzebub, another archangel, Beelzebub, who was very close to Satan. So here Satan first addresses to Beelzebub. So this is Satan's first speech to Beelzebub after their fall, after their downfall. So here we'll see that Satan, even after his downfall, even after he is being uh, punished by God in the worst possible way, as we know that Satan and all his followers, they are all thrown into hell, and they were punished with all kinds of suffering, all kinds of physical pain and torture, and they are being thrown into uh, the lakes of sulfur. So they had to suffer a kind of excruciating pain. So this, even after such kind of punishment, even after such kind of treatment from the Almighty, we see that Satan still harbors his hatred, harbors his vengeance against God. So still he is thinking of continuing his war against the Almighty. So here we see that Satan, even after being defeated by God, he is still uh, uh, resolved to carry on his battle, his eternal war against God. And that is why he is addressing Beelzebub and trying to inspire him or to encourage him, because they are all they are all demoralized. That means that they have all lost their physical and mental energy after being defeated by God, after uh, recognizing the enormity of God, the enormous power that God possesses. So this was their experience about the enormous power of God. So they are now completely demoralized. Sorry, and now Satan is trying his best to inspire them, to encourage them. Okay, so here we'll see that Satan is first speaking to Beelzebub and trying to encourage him and trying to give him some kind of confidence. So what does Satan say? If thou best he, but oh how fallen. So Satan says that Beelzebub, who was an archangel of God, when in heaven he was so bright, so brilliant, uh, his appearance was so dazzling, but now after his fall, uh, he lost his physical luster. Okay, and that is why Satan says that the fallen Beelzebub is now he now looks completely pale and waned. Okay, how changed from him? So how changed from him? He means God. So they were their looks were almost like God, because they are also the enlightened angels. But now they have completely their appearance has completely that brightness has decreased. How in that happy realms of light, happy realms of light, that means that they were in heaven, clothed with transcendent brightness, did outshine myriads. So a kind of transcendent brightness, a kind of brightness that covered them, used to cover their body, the myriads, that is all the angels who used to serve God. So they are all clothed with they were all clothed with a kind of brightness, a kind of light. If he who mutual league, united thoughts and counsels, so they had a kind of mutual league. So all these angels, they were in a particular group who had a particular mission to war against God. So they had a mutual league, united thoughts and counsels. So their aim of life, their their mission, everything was the same. Uh, thoughts and counsels, equal hope and hazards in the glorious enterprise. So they took hazards, they took risks, and they had the same hope in their life, and they battled against God, uh, all in the group. So they were the great warriors, they think. But now, after their downfall, their appearance as well as their uh, physical energy, so everything has got faded. Joined with me once, now misery hath joined in equal ruin. So now it is only the misery that accompanies them. So they were the angels who used to enjoy all kinds of heavenly luxury, but now, after their downfall, it is only misery that accompanies them. Into what pit thou seest? Pit, P-I-T, pit means hole. So here pit actually means the hell. Okay. So they are thrown into the hell. Into what pit thou seest from what height fallen? So they were in great height, that is in heaven, and now they are thrown into the nadir, that is the lowest bottom. Okay, so that is hell. So from that height, that great height, they are thrown into the the bottom of the creation, that is hell. So much the stronger proved he with his thunder. So they now can realize the power of God's thunder. So God uses thunder to throw them out of heaven. So now they can realize what could be the strength of God's thunder that has thrown them from heaven to hell. Until then, who knew the force of those dire arms? So Satan says that before their downfall, they didn't have any knowledge about the power of God or the strength of his dire arms. So arms means weapons. That how powerful weapons God could have. Yet not for those, nor what the potent victor in his rage can else inflict. But still, Satan says that even after such kind of punishment, even after such kind of defeat, even after uh, going through excruciating pain, they think that they still can have the power or the strength to wage another war against God. Yet not for those, nor what the potent victor in his rage can else inflict, do I repent or change. So Satan says that he is never going to repent for what he has done, or he will never change himself. Okay, that means he will continue his hatred against God. So his mission to usurp the the place of God, that 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 will continue. Though changed in outward luster, that fixed mind, so their outward luster is gone, their physical beauty is gone, but still they think they are uh, strong mentally and physically as they were before. and hide disdain from sense of injured merit, that with the mightiest raised me to contend. So he thinks that the injury that God has uh, brought about uh, upon them, but with this injury, with this downfall, they will uh, they will uh, acquire more strength than before, because this downfall or this misery will help them to become more powerful or to harbor more hatred against God. That with the mightiest raised me to contend, and to the fierce contention brought along the innumerable force of spirits armed, that does dislike his reign and me preferring. So God dislikes Satan and all the spirits who uh, supported Satan. His utmost power with the adverse power opposed in dubious battle on the plains of heaven, and shook his throne. So they were those warrior who once uh, shook the throne of God. So they actually had that kind of strength. So this is their confidence, that though they are defeated, but still they had the courage, they had the mental strength to wage war against God and to disturb his peace and to shake his seat of power. Okay. What though the field be lost, all is not lost. The unconquerable will. So here this line uh, reveals uh, what kind of strength of mind that Satan possesses. So in spite of such uh, such a defeat, in spite of being punished so heavily by God, he still thinks that his will, that is his strength of mind, is still the same. It is not, it cannot be destroyed by the divine, even the divine power cannot destroy it. Okay, so what though the field be lost? So their place could be lost by their defeat, but still he thinks that all is not lost, because their strength of mind, they have their strength of mind still. So even though they have lost their place, their power, their glory, but still they think they can regain it by their power of will. So this is the positive quality that attracts our attention. Okay, so Satan, though he is a villainous figure, he is portrayed as a villainous figure, but still we will see that uh, he has a kind of strength of mind, a kind of individuality that really inspiring. That even after going through such kind of pain and punishment, he doesn't change himself, and he thinks that, and he is never ready to bow to God's power, surrender to God's power, that is the supreme power. So this is the most attractive uh, uh, characteristic of Satan, that makes this character so interesting. Okay, so this is the beauty of this character, that a fallen, though he is fallen, though he is villainous, but still he is never ready to surrender. So this uh, strength of mind, and at the same time this individualism uh, really makes this character so inspiring. So the study of revenge, immortal hate, and courage never to submit or yield. Okay, so he will never, he is never ready to submit or to yield, that is to surrender, and he will harbor immortal hate. Okay, a kind of hatred which is perpetual, everlasting hatred. And what is else not to be overcome? So they have nothing to lose anymore. The glory never shall his wrath or might extort from me. So the God cannot take away anything from us because they have lost everything. To bow or sue for grace with sublime mean. So he says that he is not that type of character who, after being defeated, completely surrenders to God and bow down to Him and seek for His grace and favor with suppliant knee, that is in a praying gesture. So he'll never do that and defy His power. So he'll continue to defy His power, who from the terror of this arm so late doubted His empire. That were now indeed, that were an ignominy and shame. So Satan thinks that praying to God or praying to God for mercy is worse shame and ignominy. Okay, so it's a kind of humiliation, insult for him, a kind of insult which is worse than his defeat. So it is better to be defeated by God than to surrender to Him. Okay, and thus, uh, uh, and thus being insulted by Him. So he thinks that it is more insulting, more humiliating to surrender to God than to be defeated by Him. Okay, since by faith the strength of God and His imperial substance cannot fail. Since through experience of this great event in arms, not wars, in foresight much advanced, we may with more successful hope resolve top wage by force or guile eternal war. By force or guile. Okay. So Satan says that by any means they have to uh, defeat God, whether by force or by guile, that is by deception. Okay, so this doesn't matter by what mean they defeats God. Uh, their only goal is to defeat God. It doesn't matter in what mean they achieves it. Okay, so they are ready to achieve it by uh, by uh, by deception also. Okay, uh, so here is uh, one side of the Satan uh, that is not very much attractive because he's not a heroic character. He thinks that he can uh, defeat God even by deception, and he thinks that is also right. Hmm. So, by force or guile, eternal war, inconciliable to our grand foe. Grand foe is God, irreconcilable to our grand foe, who now triumphs and in excess of joy, sole reigning holds the tyranny of heaven. So God, after winning war against Satan, uh, is enjoying, is well, all the gods are in great joy, but he thinks that this will not to be continued. He spake the apostate angel, though in pain, vaunting aloud, but racked with deep despair. They're all racked with this deep despair. Hmm. So Beelzebub is still racked with deep despair, a kind of frustration that overcomes him. And him thus answered soon his bold compeer means Beelzebub. Now Beelzebub is speaking to or answering to Satan's speech. So now we'll read Beelzebub's speech. So what does Beelzebub say? O prince, that is Satan, O chief of many throned powers, that led the embattled seraphim to war. Seraphim means or the angels who are highest in hierarchy. Hmm. So the great angels that led the embattled seraphims to war under thy conduct. So all the great angels, they waged the war against God under the leadership of you, that is Satan, and in dreadful deeds fearless, endangered heaven's perpetual king. So they could endanger the the power of God, the heavenly king, that they put him under risk and put to prove his high supremacy. So they challenged his supremacy. So this was the thing that they did, and they still take pride in their endeavor to challenge the supremacy of God. Whether upheld by strength or chance or fate, too well I see through the dire event. So whether upheld by strength or chance or fate. So God's supremacy, it is by strength or chance or fate. Too well I see and rue the dire event. So he still repents that dire event. Dire event means that downfall. That with solid overthrow and foul defeat. So they are overthrown and defeated, hath lost us heaven. So they lost their heavenly life, and all this mighty host in terrible destruction laid us low. So they are now laid low, that is, they are placed in hell, as far as gods and heavenly essences can perish. So, as far as gods and heavenly essences can perish. So, um, they were the angels, heavenly essences. Now they are placed in hell to perish, that is, to suffer, to die. For the mind and spirit remains invincible, but mind and the spirit, that cannot be defeated. Satan says, maybe we are defeated, but we are actually defeated physically, but our mental strength or our spirit remain the same. And vigor soon returns, though all our glory extinct. So all their glory are lost, but still their vigor, he thinks, will return. Okay, so their vigor will return. And happy state here swallowed up in endless misery. But what if he, our conqueror, that is God, whom I now of force believe almighty, seems no less than such, could have overpowered such force as ours? So our conqueror is the almighty, that we must admit, because he has overpowered us with such a force. So such a force cannot have anyone than the Almighty. Have left us this our spirit and strength entire, strongly to suffer and support our pains, that we may so suffice his vengeful ire. Vengeful ire, that is anger, terrible anger. So they have invited terrible anger of God, or do him mightier service as his thralls by right of war. Whatever his business be, here in the heart of hell, of work in fire, or do his errands in the gloomy deep. What can it then avail, though yet we feel strength undiminished? Strength undiminished. Undiminished means uh, uh, something which is same in degree, which is not wasted, which is not decayed. So they have the strength that is still the same, which is undiminished, or eternal being to undergo eternal punishment. So they were the eternal being as they belong to heaven once. Now they are punished with eternal suffering, suffering, perpetual torment. Okay. Now we'll see that after hearing Beelzebub's speech, Satan again addresses to Beelzebub. So it is Satan's second speech to Beelzebub. So what does he say here? Where with speedy words the archfiend replied. The archfiend means Beelzebub, that is a close friend. Fallen cherub. So here cherub means angels. Cherub also means angels. So fallen cherub, to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering, but of this be sure, to do aught good never will be our task. So what is Satan's plan? Satan's plan is that from now on, their only task is will be to do evil. Okay, so they will only do villainous thing. They will never do anything, any good deed. Okay, so they will never do anything good. Their task from now on will be only to do bad things, and this will be their 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 one of the means to wage war against God, to protest God. Okay, so if one does evil things, they are actually doing something which is against God. But ever to do ill, our soul delight. So to do evil will be their only delight. They will only take delight in doing the uh, evil things, as being the contrary to his high will. Okay, and this is contrary to the will of God, whom we resist. If then his providence out of our evil seek to bring forth good, our labor must be to pervert that end. So this is another plan of Satan. What is his plan? Is that if God tries to do anything good, their task will be to completely uh, resist that, or to pervert its its actual intention. Okay, so their only task would be to do mischief, to do evil things, and to completely frustrate God's attempt to do good. Okay, so if God plans to do anything good, they will completely frustrate his effort. So this is Satan's uh, second plan of action to uh, protest against the Almighty. Our labor must be to pervert that end. Okay, and out of good still to find means of evil. So if God does anything good, their task will be to find some uh, sides or some bad sides of it, or to represent it to others as something evil. Okay, so just like the opponent parties do in our parliamentary uh, system. So they have completely taken the position of the opponent party. So their task will be completely uh, to represent the uh, ruling government as something that they're completely futile, or that they are doing something which is uh, goes against the interest of the public, the common people. So they have. So here, Satan is taking the same kind of strategy, and out of good still to find means of evil, which oftentimes may succeed, so as perhaps shall grieve him, if I fail not and disturb his inmost counsels from their destined aim. Now, in the next stanza, Satan gives a kind of a proposal that they should now um, summon all their uh, followers, all the angels, fallen angels, who are now going through pain, who are suffering in hell. So their task would be to unite them and to give them confidence, and thus uh, mm, they will be united and wage war against God. Okay. But see, the angry victor hath recalled his ministers' vengeance and pursued back to the gates of heaven the sulphurous hail. Shot after us in storm, overblown, hath laid the fiery surge that from the precipice of heaven received us falling. And the thunder, winged with red lightning and impetuous rage, perhaps hath spanned its shaft and ceases now. So Satan says that God has now stopped warring against the fallen angels. So God has stopped throwing thunders. So it is a great opportunity for them to be united and make up their plans to resist God, as God has now uh, uh, ceased war. Okay, so ceases now to to below, thought he vast and boundless deep. Let us not sleep the occasion. Let us not sleep this occasion. So we should not sleep this occasion or miss this opportunity, uh, whether scorn or satiate fury yield it from our foe. Sayest thou, you dreary plain, forlorn and wild, the seat of desolation, void of light, save what the glimmering of these livid flames cast pale and dreadful. Thither let us tend from off the tossing of these fairy waves, their rest, if any rest can harbor there, and reassembling our afflicted powers. Okay, reassembling our afflicted powers. So their powers are afflicted, and now they should reassemble their afflicted powers. That is their strength, which is afflicted, that is, which is injured. Consult how we may henceforth most offend our enemy. So now they should consult, chalk out some kind of plans as to how to uh, offend their enemy, that is God, how to confound or to defeat God. Out our loss, how repair? So, how they could repair their heavy loss? How overcome this dire calamity? Dire calamity means the great disaster uh, that they met with. Okay, what reinforcement we may gain? Reinforcement. So they should reinforce themselves, that is to regain power, regain energy. Hmm. Uh, that is to renew their strength and energy. So what reinforcement we may gain from hope. So this is the hope is only the thing that can uh, bring them strength. If not, what resolution from despair? So, what kind of resolution that they can take, uh, being in despair? Now, in the following stanza, we'll see there is a grand description of Satan. Okay, so Satan is here described with uh, a kind of animal who is called Leviathan, a kind of mythological uh, giant, and uh, it is a kind of a long uh, comparison uh, by using uh, which is called epic simile. What is epic simile? Epic simile is a kind of simile which is very long and lengthy, and which is used to describe the power of the epical hero. Okay, so here Satan's uh, strength, his power, and his physical appearance, his big physical appearance, will be described with a simile, which is considered as an epic simile. Okay, so in epics, generally the poets use long similes to describe the strength of a particular character. So this is called epic simile. The Satan talking to his nearest mate with head uplift above the wave, tanned eyes that sparkling blazed. So his eyes that once blazed sparklingly now got tanned, that is, went pale. His other parts, besides prone on the flood, extend long and large, lay floating many a rood. Mm. So his body that extends many a rood, that is almost an acre. So it's a huge kind of uh, physical appearance that Satan has. So that is being described with various kind of comparisons. So lay floating many a rood in bulk as huge as whom the fables name the monstrous size Titanian. Okay, so here uh, he is compared with a mythological figure, Titanian. Okay, Titanian, it's a mythological figure. Titans, they are actually giant in Greek mythology who also warred against God. That is why they are described with Titanian or earthborn that warred on Job. So Titanians, they battled against Job. Job means Jupiter, that is the father of God in pagan culture. Okay, uh, Briareos or Typhon. Okay, Briareos, that is also a giant. Typhon, it is also a giant. So these are all mythological giants, whom the Dane by ancient Tarsus hailed. Tarsus is the name of a place that is a city in Sicilia. So these references are all from Greek mythology, ancient mythology. Okay, so whom the Dane by ancient Tarsus hailed, or that sea beast Leviathan. So this simile is very important. This comparison between the Leviathan and Satan. So Leviathan is also a sea monster, a biblical uh, figure actually. That is a mythological figure, Leviathan, uh, which, yes, Moby Dick. So Leviathan which God of all his works created, hugest that swim the ocean stream, him happily slumbering on the Norway foam. So Leviathan, it was actually sleeping upon the sea water, and he was mistaken by a sailor, mistaken by a sailor as an island. Okay, so we can imagine how big it would be that it was mistakenly considered as an island, and the sailor it anchored its ship upon the body of that creature, Leviathan. So it's a kind of a whale actually, which God of all his works created, hugest swim the ocean stream, him happily slumbering on the Norway foam, the pilot of some the pilot of some small night-founded ski dimming some island, often as seamen tell, with fixed anchor in his scaly ring, moors by his side. Moor means to anchor by his side under the lee, while night invests the sea and wished morn delay. Okay, so they anchored their ship upon that creature, and they wait for the morning to come. So this is a very big simile, and that is why it is called epic simile. Satan permitted to rise from the fiery lake of hell. So Satan rose out of the fiery lake of hell, but the language is to be noted that the poet says Satan was permitted. So who permits him? So God permits him. So it's very interesting to see that Satan, who is planning to wage war against God, cannot even rise from the fiery lake without the help of God. So it was God who actually helped him to rise out of that fiery lake. So why did God help him? God helped him just because so that he can do another mistake, and thus he could be punished uh, again, so that he can learn lesson from that. Okay, so stretched out of huge in length and arch fiend lay, chained on the burning lake, nor ever thence had risen or heaved his head, but that the will and the high permission of all ruling heaven left him a large to his own dark designs, that with reiterated crimes he might heap on himself damnation. Okay, so this is the design of God, design that is God's planning, God's way of thinking. That God helped him to rise out of the lake so that he can unite all the fallen angels and again do the same mistake of raging war against God, and thus they are punished again and taught uh, another lesson. Okay, so he might heap on himself damnation while he sought evil to others, and enraged might see how all his malice served but to bring forth infinite goodness. So this will be the learning of Satan, that even after uh, trying to do evils, uh, finally all his attempts uh, ironically brings goodness. Okay, goodness, grace, and misery shown on men by him seduced, but on himself terrible confusion. So he will try his best to bring about all kinds of suffering upon mankind, but ironically, men will be saved by God because men they seek mercy from God, but Satan, by his uh, indomitable hatred against God, will only invite God's punishment. so he will suffer more. Okay, so terrible confusion, wrath, and vengeance poured. So he will be again uh, uh, inflicted with greater sort of punishment. So I'm ending here, line number 220. So if you have any questions, you may ask, or if you have any confusions to clear, then you may share your thoughts. Do you have any questions or anything? আর কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে বলতে পারো।
স্যার বোল্ড কম্পেয়ারটা কি স্যার?
বোল্ড কম্পেয়ার হচ্ছে যে, কম্পেয়ার কথাটার মানে হচ্ছে যে সামওয়ান who is equal in skill or power or strength, ওকে, যে তাকে কম্পেয়ার বলা হয়। তাহলে সেটানের কম্পেয়ার কে? সে হচ্ছে বেলজিবাব। তাহলে বোল্ড কম্পেয়ার, দ্যাট ইজ বেলজিবাব হিমসেলফ। হুম, আচ্ছা, আর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন? আচ্ছা, মনে হচ্ছে আর কারো কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন নেই। তাহলে এখানে আমরা শেষ করছি। নেক্সট দিন আমরা তারপর থেকে শুরু করব